guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it is your first time here. Today I'm going to be doing my really quick November reading wrap up because I only read 4 books in the month of November. But if you watched my October wrap up, then you'll know that I didn't have a great reading month in October. So November, even though I read fewer books, it was by far a better reading month. So let's just jump straight in. The first book that I finished in November was the audiobook of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. We have been listening to these audiobooks in the car with the kids and we are just really enjoying them. They are narrated by Stephen Fry, who is just the perfect choice. He has such an expressive voice and he really makes the books come alive, and of course Harry Potter in sort of autumn winter weather is just perfect anyway. It's so festive. There's just something really cozy about jumping back into the world of Harry Potter, and I am particularly loving listening to the audiobooks and getting a new dynamic and dimension to the stories, if that makes sense. So yeah, 5 stars, loved it. The kids loved it. We're now on to the 3rd book and just really enjoying them. The next book I read was Heart of Thorns by Brie Barton. This is a YA fantasy book, and I went into this book thinking that there were going to be a lot of YA tropes, and there were. This is essentially the book of our female protagonist who is being forced into a marriage that she doesn't want, and on the day of her wedding discovers that she has hidden powers, flees, goes off on a journey of self-discovery, and then returns in order to save the day. Now, for me, there is nothing wrong with tropes if they're done well, if the pacing of the book is there, if there are some original and exciting elements in the story. And I just felt like this book missed the mark a little bit. To kind of flesh it out a bit more for you, we are following the story of Mia Rose, whose mother died and was killed by these women with magical abilities that are known as Gwyrak. And Mia's father is a hunter of these Gwyrak, and Mia grows up with aspirations to also become a hunter and to hunt down her mother's killer, and her whole life has been about working towards this goal. And then out of nowhere her father decides that she's going to marry the prince and that she's not going to become a hunter at all. And then, as I've said, on the day of her wedding something happens and she's forced to flee with the prince, and so therefore she goes on her journey of self-discovery. For me, there was just certain elements that were lacking. I felt like a lot of the information about this world was given to us through characters info dumping rather than it being explained or fleshed out properly. We were just sort of given vital bits of information about this world through a character saying, oh yeah, guess what, blah blah blah, which didn't really sit well for me. It just kind of was a bit jarring to read about. It did also lack a little bit of originality. I felt like it was so close to being there and then it just fell short of the mark. That said, I didn't see the ending coming, so I felt that that twist was done particularly well, and it definitely left me wanting to know more at the end. So I'll probably be picking up the next book in the series. It was a quick and easy read. It wasn't complex at all. If you fancy reading some fantasy but you're not really sure that you want to go in at a high level, then this is probably the right kind of book for you to pick up. There were a lot of good elements. There were a lot of things to appreciate about this book, but it did also have some flaws. Pacing was definitely off. I felt that some of the twists were quite clumsily done, and yes, it was very tropey. But if you don't mind any of those things and you just want a quick easy read, then you might want to give this one a go. I realised that made it sound like I didn't enjoy the book, but I did enjoy the book. I just felt like it could have been a bit more than what it was, and I wanted more from it. I felt like there was the potential for there to be more and it just didn't quite reach the mark. I hope that makes sense. The next book I read was the Bookish Mama's choice for November, and that was This Is Going to Hurt, Secret Diaries of a Junior Doctor by Adam Kay. Now, I absolutely flew through this book. I was a little bit dubious going in because medical non-fiction books are quite popular at the moment, but they just kind of make me feel a bit squeamish, so I wasn't sure how I was going to get on. But it's basically based on Adam Kay's diary entries when he was a doctor. So they are all quite short to read, they're quite snappy, you can just easily jump in and jump out again. And Adam Kay has a way of writing which is just very humorous. It's very down to earth and factual, but it is quite humorous. And I really enjoyed this book. I've since recommended it and lent it out to a number of people, because I think particularly if you live in the UK and you have ever used the NHS, then it is a really fascinating insight into the pressures that our junior doctors are under, and it just gave me a real sense of appreciation for the NHS and how precious the NHS is, how important it is to the structure of this country. And yeah, these were all things that I kind of knew in the back of my mind, but it gave it context and it fleshed it out for me, and I really enjoyed it. It is heartbreaking at the end. There are certain elements in this book which just really tug on the heartstrings, but it's also incredibly funny. Some people are incredibly strange and make very questionable decisions, but yeah, I love the way it was edited, I love the way it was put together. I have since watched and read some things about Adam Kay where he demeans people with medical conditions for comedy sketches, and that has tainted this a little bit in my eyes, because I sort of get the impression that he's not a good guy, which makes me a bit sad, because I feel like this book could really make waves. I think it already has made waves, and I think it could be a really impactful book, but he's just, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed in some of the wider things that I've read and heard about him. But that said, with this book as a standalone, I just think that everybody should read it. It's so easy to read, it's so relevant, it's so important. I'm going to continue to push this book on just about everybody, because yeah, I really enjoyed it. Then I picked up A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas. This is the novella that kind of bridges her Court of Thorns and Roses series that she's writing, and you will probably know if you've been around here a while that when I bought this book and I paid £6.99 for this book, I thought I was getting a full book in this series, not a novella. And so everything about this book is a little bit tainted for me, because I didn't get what I was expecting, and it makes me feel like a little bit of a miser to complain about it all the time. And I did enjoy going back into this world, but honestly just wanted so much more from it than I got. It was okay, it was nice to catch up with the characters. Myself and Sarah J Maas's books have a little bit of an interesting relationship, in that with this series and with her Throne of Glass series, I don't like the protagonists. I don't read the books for the protagonists. I'm not interested in the protagonists. They kind of get on my nerves. Both Feyre and Aelin just wind me up beyond belief. For me, Sarah J Maas's books really kind of hook me with the side characters, and in this particular series, for me, it's all about Nesta and Cassian's story. I am just so here for, and I'm really hoping that in her next book set in this world we get so much more of that, because I'm just so here for Nesta. And I was actually quite annoyed, because after I finished this book I was reading some Goodreads reviews and I saw quite a few people hating on Nesta's character, and I was just really shocked, because she is the main reason that I'm now sticking with this series and reading these books. She is morally grey. I feel like something is building, something big is building, and I can't wait to know what it's going to be. Yeah, if Sarah J Maas was to turn around tomorrow and say, oh, by the way, I'm bumping off Nesta and I'm not going to write any more about her, I would literally ditch this series. And it's the same in her Throne of Glass series. The side characters are where it's at for me. So this was okay. I think if you really like this world, if you really are invested in the characters, then you will enjoy this. And especially the setting at this time of year, it's obviously a Christmassy setting, so it's very nice, but it just was a bit of a, for me, I could probably have gone without reading it, but I enjoyed getting back in touch with the characters, if that makes any sense. at all. The final book that I read in November is Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson. This is a thriller about a woman called Christine who loses her memories every time she goes to sleep. She was basically involved in an accident and she suffered damage to her brain, and that means that she cannot retain any short-term memories. So she has a few long-term memories, but she cannot make new memories. So whatever happens to her in a 24-hour period, the minute she enters a deep sleep, she has forgotten her memories, and she has to have her life explained to her every single morning by her husband. When we pick up the story, we begin to see that maybe her husband is not telling her the whole truth, the whole story. There are secrets that she is beginning to uncover. She starts to keep a journal in order to try and catch herself up to what is happening, to try and kind of flesh out her life and gain her bearings. And it's through that that she begins to suspect that not everything is quite as it seems. Now, this was such an original concept. I really enjoyed the idea of it. It was just, yeah, it's just so unique and not like anything that I've read before. The only issue that I had was that the story dragged. It really took a long time to get going, and I feel like it could have done with some heavy editing. I think maybe because Christine has to relive everything, the author sort of felt that we had to relive everything every single day so that we were more immersed in the way that Christine was feeling. But I was a little bit bored by that. I was very impatient. I was sort of like, yeah, we know that, but what's happening now? That said, the twist at the end I didn't see coming at all, and literally had my jaw on the floor. I just wish it had been a little bit pacier. If it had had the pacing, then this would have been a 4.5 5-star read for me without a doubt. As it was, I think I gave it 3 stars because I was just left feeling a little bit like hurry up, and it didn't draw me in the way that I'd hoped. I definitely had to make myself pick it up and read it. But as it goes for kind of an unsettling psychological type book, I thought that it did really well, and it was definitely something I've never read about, and yeah, I think that most people would really enjoy it. So if it sounds like the kind of book that you'd be intrigued in reading, then I definitely recommend picking it up, because yeah, it was good. It was good. So there you go, they are the books that I read in the month of November. I do kind of feel like I made it sound like I didn't enjoy a lot of the books that I read, but I did. I guess I'm just feeling a little bit picky and critical today. Probably not the best day to do a wrap up on. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to give me the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Leave me a comment, let me know what your favourite book was that you read in November. I always love to know. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all soon.